podcasters. Welcome to episode 267 of the StreamYard Live Town Hall. My name's Geige, and I'm here with Dan, of course. Dan, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's been a good week. Excited to be here with all of you. We've got some fun stuff to chat about tonight. For anyone new here, Dan and I are the founders of StreamYard, and we do these town halls every single Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific, and we do them for a few reasons. One is to stay in tune with all of you, go through the same flow that you all do with your own shows and productions. Two is to answer any of your questions. That's why we're calling it Ask StreamYard. So if there's anything you'd like us to touch on tonight, feel free to leave it in the chat. We'll do our best to get to as many as we possibly can. And three, I always mention the three pillars of StreamYard, which are ease of use, stability, and professional stream. So if you're about those three things, StreamYard is the tool for you. See folks tuning in all over the world tonight. I see some old faces and new faces. Great to see you here, Barb. It's been a minute. I hope everything's good with you. Before I forget, we have some awesome shows on StreamYard. We have channel reviews with Dee and Daniel the second Saturday of every month. Really great show if you're looking to grow on YouTube. They do fun stuff like dig into individual channels and talk about, how to think about analytics and thumbnails and super useful advice. And then we have Enhance Your Live Streams the last Tuesday of the month with Nick Nimmin, who again is a pro when it comes to all things video, but check that one out for your specific live streaming questions. And we have all kinds of other cool shows happening on the YouTube channel and other social pages if you want to check those out. And then one thing we've been doing at the start of these so that we get to know a little bit more about you and you get to know a little bit about us is a fun fact. And the fun fact we had tonight was it's been a while since I stepped into an arcade, but if you're at like a traditional like arcade, bowling alley or whatever, I don't know what the most common arcade places are. Like what's your go-to arcade game, Dan?
Yeah, I don't really have a classic arcade game that I would go to. At the arcade we used to have when I was growing up, they actually had laser tag. So by
in the
far,
arcade, that's pretty good.
That was my favorite thing to do. But if I had to pick more of kind of a traditional game, I always enjoyed air hockey. They always had air hockey tables at the arcade. How about you?
Air hockey is definitely a good one. I feel like I'm always excited if I see a one of those skee ball machines where you like throw it's like miniature bowling or whatever where you have to get into the targets.
Cool.
That's probably, I guess that'd be my my favorite. Probably has been 10 years since I've played the game, but it is fun.
Cool.
All
it's
right,
better than the carnival games where you like physically can't win. At least in arcade games, you can actually do okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, more fair than the carnivals. Cool. I already see a few questions. We'll do a few questions and then get into the announcement for tonight. About that, it says, is there a way to start a show with a video instead of showing our faces? If you covered this already, it's okay. Yeah, no worries. We can cover that. If you saw the beginning of this, we did it the way that I would recommend for you to do it. Wallet. Basically, what Dan and I do is we'll start with just a full screen overlay and hit start stream and then play a video. And that basically starts with like the intro video. And then we remove the overlay. And then when the video ends, it's just us on screen. I would probably just practice, like do like a recording and you can get a sense of what it's going to look like. But yeah, pretty easy to do once you know how to do it.
Yep. And if you don't want to use an overlay, you could also just have a long intro, especially if there's not much going on in the first few seconds, and just start playing the intro and then just go live. It's just kind of one less extra step with an overlay, but it will cut off part of the intro.
Cool. Jared Dukes has a question about StreamYard on air. What happens to viewers over your allotment when they join? Are they simply bumped? I'm currently on the $99 plan. So to be clear, this answer is just about on air. Like if you're streaming to social media like YouTube or Facebook, there's absolutely no limit at all on viewers. You can stream to as many people as you possibly want. But if you are using StreamYard's on air product, which is basically the ability to do like a private webinar or a private live streaming or private live stream, it could also be public, but say you want to do something like embedded on your own website or benefit from like the on air registration and, basically do a traditional webinar, that's where those viewer limits could come into play. And the way that works, JR Dukes, is I believe, Dan, they just basically see like, hey, this webinar is full, right? So no one gets bumped out, but anyone new that tries to join will see that like, hey, this webinar is full.
Yep. Yeah. And you'll see a counter basically in the studio the whole time that shows where you're at and how close you are. And ideally, in advance, you've kind of set it up where you're not going to hit that limit. And yeah, you'll be kind of warned as you get closer to it. But yeah, it doesn't kick anyone out or anything.
And it's pretty easy to, like, if you do need more viewers in the middle of the stream, you can actually change your plan in the middle of the stream, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty quick.
I guess another note too, it says it doesn't apply to registrations. Like you can have as many people register as you want. It's just like the amount of people watching.
Yep, that's right.
All right, let's see what else we have here. We had a question at the beginning from, where did it go here? From Brad says, hey guys, when can we expect transitions, weeks, months? Thanks. So Brad, I don't have a specific date, but what I can say is that we are actively working on not just transitions, but a bunch of basically a bunch of features to make the overall run of show easier. And it's going to be, if you're a fan of how we handled custom layouts, where it's sort of like behind the scenes, but if you dig into it, you can make some pretty custom and cool layouts. It'll feel similar to that in terms of like the overall design and spirit of it. But I think you'll be pretty excited about how much, for folks that do want to go deeper, how much you can customize. But we do want to make sure that it's also easy for folks that don't want to deal with that. But for folks that do, we're excited about it. But stay tuned. It is coming soon.
Yeah, we don't usually give exact dates until something ships. We kind of like to keep it a little more flexible, and also just it's more exciting when you don't know exactly when it'll come.
All right, let's see what else we had. Dennis says, for languages like Persian and Arabic, is there a way to have the banner fly under the video from left to right?
Yeah.
So not yet, Dennis. I do think it's something we want to address eventually. Any other thoughts on that one, Dan?
No thoughts. I definitely get the need for that.
Cool. Marianne says, when sharing and adding slides, can we have it so our customized layout pop up rather than StreamYard screen layout? You want to take that one, Dan?
Got it. Okay, I was just trying to understand that first. Yeah, that's definitely interesting. So you have like your own custom layout that's, say, slightly different than the usual screen layout, and you basically want to have it where when you share a screen, it automatically goes into that layout instead. I'm open to that. We don't have plans for that right at the moment. Some of the stuff Geige just mentioned that's just more advanced, that's coming relatively soon, it may address that. I'm not aware of plans to specifically address that one, though, so I think that we might have to handle that separately. Yeah, no plans right now, but I definitely get the need for that, and I've had kind of similar things where you're in a layout like that, and then you maybe want to stop screen sharing, you want to go back to a very specific layout. I could see us maybe adding stuff to improve that over time. Nothing yet. At the moment, I would say the only thing you really do is switch to that layout first and then screen share, but I know that's kind of like an extra animation, which probably doesn't look great for your case. Or actually, the other thing you can do too, if you're like, it depends what the rest of your show looks like, is you could share your screen ahead of time and you just have it backstage the whole time, and then sort of switch layout and show it on screen at roughly the same time, and that would sort of solve it for you. So instead of like right when you go to screen share, it sort of changes to the wrong layout, and then you have to switch it. You could kind of change layout and put it to screen at the same time, but I know it's not perfect.
Joshua says, any plans to add the ability to edit the recorded video via transcription, either just the audio or the video? Yeah, that's a good question, Joshua. So we have made a lot of improvements lately to the StreamYard editor. So if you haven't checked it out in a while, I would definitely, after you finish a live stream or a recording, try giving it an edit and see what's in there. But the answer is yes, we are planning on doing that. Pretty recently, we added transcriptions to the side, so you can actually navigate throughout the video pretty easily by just clicking on the transcription text, and then also the ability to add captions onto the video itself if it's for things like shorts or reels. But yeah, that is something that we're actively exploring.
Yep.
Elizabeth, I see your question about trials. If there is a specific feature that you really need to get a sense of before you feel comfortable upgrading, if you just go to StreamYard.com/contact, the support team's live 24/7 there, and they'd be happy to give you access for a limited time to make sure that it works for your use case. Let's see here. What else was there? Rob says, has anyone had issues with the new private email where the email brings the user directly into the webinar instead of requiring them to enter the email and receive the code? It's the first I've heard of that, Rob. So if you could maybe either send an email to contact@streamyard.com or share a few more details here. But yeah, I don't know. Any other thoughts on that one, Dan?
No, I can take a look though.
Yeah, maybe if you could send an email, Rob, with more details on the overall specifics and a link to the webinar.
Yeah, and I'm also curious if you're using if it's a public webinar with registration, or if you're referring to the new private option that we just added last week.
All right, lots of questions here. Jared Duke says, question: to maximize commercials and money on live streaming? Is it best to manually add commercials in the YouTube studio first, or let YouTube add commercials? So the most common way I'll see folks do this, JR, is like YouTube does have pretty specific rules around like you shouldn't have things that really look like YouTube ads in the middle of your broadcast, or things that because basically the reason for that is it's sort of a bad experience if someone is like seeing something that looks like a YouTube ad and then there's a YouTube ad right after it. But it is extremely common, as you've probably seen on YouTube videos yourself, so folks generally will have monetization on where YouTube ads play on their videos, and then oftentimes also work with a sponsor. But when they're working with a sponsor, it's usually sort of like custom content to promote the sponsor. So it doesn't really look like a YouTube ad. It's usually like, the person talking about the product, or the really creative ones, it'll be like in the middle of like the video and actually like be part of the video or something. So it needs to not look like a traditional YouTube ad, but that's by far the most common way I see larger channels doing it, and I assume they're having success given that they are larger channels.
Yeah, and if you're referring to like the YouTube settings, and maybe you know this, maybe not, you can customize when to show ads on YouTube itself, like when to show YouTube ads. And get what Geige is mostly referring to is trying to show ads from the studio, like with video clips or something, and that's the part that's YouTube doesn't really like.
Yep. Michael says, is there a way to change the banner size? So the only way to change the banner size at this time, Michael, is to choose one of the different themes that we have. For now, that's what it is for now.
Yep. Yeah, we've as a lot of you probably know who are watching, we always err on the side of just making things extremely easy, so that it's like a couple of clicks, you can show something on screen, just everything's very intuitive and simple to use. And then we try to kind of add more complexity, but sort of tuck it away so that it's doesn't make it that hard to use. So banners is one of the things you can't really customize besides the theme and the color, which do obviously customize it quite a bit. And yeah, we'll likely add either more themes or maybe more customization over time, as long as we can do it in a way where it's not hard to use at all. But for now, those are kind of the two things: is changing the theme and changing the color for banners.
Well, let's maybe do one or two more here, and I want to make sure we have time to announce the feature and have folks, if there's any questions. What's up? The Sports Podcast says, if you have your day and time set for your live stream, are you able to send a StreamYard link days prior? Yes, absolutely. That's one of the things people really like about like the sort of multi-streaming functionality of StreamYard, even if you're not using multi-streaming. But yeah, you absolutely can schedule it out, and you will get a StreamYard link that you can send out at any time. And you can even use that link to prepare beforehand, right? So if you have a guest that you want to make sure they're comfortable, you can say like, hey, let's have a pre-meeting 10 minutes before the show starts, and you guys can join that link and talk and explain to your guest how everything's going to work. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, and you can either, like when you're creating a stream on StreamYard, you can choose the option that says schedule for later. And that's if you actually want to create a post. So for example, if you're streaming to YouTube and Facebook, you want to actually have a post created now that says when you're going to go live, you would choose that option. If you don't want to have that and you want to have the post basically be created right when you start, you would just not choose that option, but you can still create it in advance, and they'll basically get created when you go live.
Let's do this one, and then we'll get into the announcement. Dennis says, is there a way that we can move the custom logo from the right corner to other locations? So not directly using the logo option, but it is relatively easy, Dennis, to basically just upload a transparent overlay. And the cool thing, you'll see it in a second here when we show some other images. The cool thing about using a transparent overlay is you can basically put anything anywhere on the screen wherever you want, right? So all you would do is basically just make a 1280 by 720 overlay, but make sure it's transparent, and then put your logo in the top left of that transparent image. And I commonly see folks do that, and you can do it in Google Slides and something like Canva. Figma is a little bit more advanced, but that's personally what we often use.
Yep.
All right, let's get into the feature for tonight, which we're excited about, and that is pinned comments for OnAir. So OnAir already came up briefly tonight, but in case you missed it, OnAir is basically StreamYard's webinar/private live streaming solution, and it's pretty cool because if you want to, you can also simultaneously stream out to social platforms, but it's pretty convenient. Say if you want to use its registration to collect email addresses or embed it onto your own website, it's a pretty great solution for that. But OnAir Pinned Comments, we're excited about. It's basically what this does is, as a host, you're able to either have a comment yourself or someone else in the chat and just pin it to the top. It works extremely similar to how pinned comments work on something like YouTube or Twitch. And part of the feedback on why folks really wanted this and how we anticipate it being used is say you're doing a webinar and you want to drive folks to maybe purchase your course or join your membership or whatever, it's very easy to basically put in that link yourself and then pin it to the top and say like, hey, go ahead and click that. And I actually have a couple images here I'll show so you guys can have a sense of what it looks like. So this is what it looks like from the host perspective. You can just click those three dots on any comment that you have and click the option to pin it. And then you'll see this is from the studio perspective. You'll see that it's pinned to the top. And then as a viewer, it'll look something like this. And again, obviously this is just an example. Sign up at StreamYard.com. You could make this, buy my t-shirts at, whatever your website is. But this is how the viewer experience works, and extremely similar to like how you would see a pinned comment on something like YouTube or Twitch.
Yep.
Anything to add to that one, Dan?
I don't think so. It is pretty straightforward and simple to use, especially if you're familiar with the pinned comments, like you said, Geige on YouTube or Twitch, products like that. And this is different than starred comments. So for those of you that already use starred comments in the studio, that is a totally different thing. Starring is basically a way to just save certain comments in the studio that you maybe want to show on screen later. Whereas pinning is all about showing a specific on-air comment to the viewers, and very often with a link that they might want to click. So just excellent for calls to action is a huge, huge use case. Like Geige said, to send them to your store or to buy your course or something like that. Great for that.
Absolutely. And Michael Gillespie, I see your comments about buffering. It'll be hard to troubleshoot here. I think the easiest thing, if you just go to StreamYard.com/contact, there's always the live support folks there. They can troubleshoot you and try to identify what might be happening there after you mentioned the update on your computer. Let's see here. The Wanderer AUS says, after opening a video, is it possible to have the camera automatically be on screen instead of the background when the video finishes? Yes, absolutely. So the easiest way to do that is to just have, again, correct me if I'm misunderstanding, Wanderer, but the easiest way would be, like, for example, if Dan and I were to just play a video now, as long as we don't remove ourselves, we're going to be on screen after the video finishes. And you can even do layout changes as the video is playing, right? So if I were to play a video right now and change it where, I'm full screen, that will be happening sort of like behind the scenes. And when the video ends, it will cut to this versus the two-person layout that Dan and I generally use. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yep. Yeah, that's very common. Even like an overlay too, like you can do a nice transition where maybe there's two of us, and then there's some kind of cool overlay or animation or video, even just for a few seconds. And during that time, you also change layouts, and then it comes back up and there's just one person on there. Something that kind of feels like a news style, high quality show.
Marianne says, I'm excited to be doing my very first on air next week. So if we pin a comment, the links are clickable. Yes, absolutely. That's part of the reason why we're excited to launch it. Should make it very easy for you to drive folks to whatever that link is that you're promoting.
Yep.
Wanderer AUS says, do pinned comments work on the normal live stream setup? So this is specific. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just to say this is very much for on air. So for StreamYard on air, it doesn't work for YouTube or anything, just because YouTube doesn't expose that through their API. At least it's not that I'm aware of. So it's not something where you can pin YouTube comments. It is just for on air. I would love to have it for YouTube though, if they do start exposing that.
Cool. But to be clear, YouTube and Twitch do have pinned comments. You just have to access those features from, I mean, you probably already know that, Wanderer, but just in case, you can of course use those on that, like have your mods do it or whatever on the platform.
Yeah. You just can't do it from the StreamYard studio, whereas with On Air, you can easily do it from the studio.
Awesome, Brenda. Glad to hear that you tried out StreamYard on Air. Yeah, said needed closed captioning built in, the ability to click on link in the comments, plus webinar viewer stats. So yeah, hopefully the pinned comments we just mentioned should help quite a bit with the being able to click.
I think that might be, she's referring, let me know if I'm off, but are you referring to viewers being able to click links? Because that should already be a thing. Or yourself being able to click the link? Because it won't fix yourself being able to click the link. I don't think, at least. You can even click. Either way, for normal comments, you won't be able to click the link in the studio, but your viewers should be able to click them. And especially if the main thing you're looking for is to show a specific link to viewers, then 100% pinned comments will help.
Cool. And yeah, those other ones are definitely ones we hear often, Brenda, and we're actively exploring those. And if anyone has any other feedback in terms of what they'd like to see for StreamYard on air or any of obviously the other new functionality we've launched, stuff like that's super useful. So thanks for sharing that, Brenda.
Yep.
All right, let's do some more questions here.
This will be rolling out. I just saw, Brenda, your comment. The viewers can't click links yet. This will be rolling out very soon.
The Drunkdra says, are there plans to have the ability to simultaneously stream vertically to Instagram and horizontally on other platforms? So yeah, that's definitely something we've heard come up, the Drunkdra, and something that we're open to. Not 100% sure yet if we'll add it, but there's potential that we'll add it. For now, as I'm sure you know, you have to choose between one or the other. The nice thing is if you are streaming vertically or horizontally, most platforms support it relatively well. So like if Instagram is your primary platform, folks should have a pretty good or even a very good experience watching on the other platforms, but it will be vertical. But if they're watching on mobile, they'll have a very similar viewing experience as they would on Instagram. Yep. Usama says, I would love to use StreamYard with Whatnot. Any plans? I'm not super familiar with Whatnot, Usama. I'll have to check that out. Option says, what background are you using? This is actually one of the built-in StreamYard backgrounds. Not too long ago, we actually launched the ability to upload videos as backgrounds. So this is a very subtle video background. But yeah, you don't have to. You can use this exact background if you want, but you can also upload your own video backgrounds.
Yeah, and the backgrounds that we give for free are available on all plans, including the free plan. So if you're in the brand tab on StreamYard, you go down to the background section and then just click to add a background. You can obviously upload your own, and actually that's a paid feature. So uploading your own background is paid. But there's a whole bunch of example backgrounds we have that just have kind of cool animations to them for all the videos. So yeah, this one we have here is just one of the free example video backgrounds, and there's a bunch of others that are kind of similar, just very subtle animations in different colors.
Cool. I see the description of it, Usama. I'll have to check it out. It's good to know. See some other folks mentioning the vertical and horizontally streaming. Yeah, definitely makes sense. The biggest thing to work around is like making sure that, obviously that it's a slightly different, I'm not going to do a good job articulating, but when you show, we have to make sure that it's not unexpected for you, right? Like if you're streaming in one view, it's not going to have an unanticipated impact when you choose something, right? Because what's happening on screen is not exactly the same.
Yeah, like if you upload a landscape overlay or background in portrait, it's not necessarily clear for you how that's going to look.
Awesome. Should we go ahead and start queuing up the giveaway for tonight, Dan?
Let's do it.
Peter G Show says, any chance of implementing animated green screen? The animated background is so good, but animated green screen would be really useful. Yeah, we're definitely open to it. Peter G. I would be curious if you're using the sort of I don't remember how we identify them, like the physical green screen option or the virtual green screen option. But yeah, we are open to adding that. And I think I saw a few other folks mention that tonight.
Yeah, we want to mostly make sure we can get the performance really good before we would do it. It is just a little harder on your machine, but we're working on
it. Cool. I think many folks are familiar, but if in case you're not, we always do a giveaway towards the end of these streams. Let me just hide this comment. To be eligible, all you have to do is type in hashtag the yard. And tonight we added some new pictures, so I'll make sure this will actually show too for the comment about like how to move the logo potentially or transparent overlays. This will be a good example. But tonight we'll give away the StreamYard duck and a StreamYard sweater. Let me just find the images here.
They're at the top of the overlay.
Yeah, I got it. So this is the StreamYard sweater there, and you can see it's a transparent overlay. So we'll give away one of those, and we'll also give away the StreamYard. I'll use the full screen image here. The StreamYard Puddles duck. You can also see it in the background there. And if you're ever interested in running a giveaway like this yourself, we actually made this tool available at StreamYard.com/giveaway, and you can use it just like how we're using it, and even choose your own word, right? So it doesn't have to be hashtag the yards. So we'll give you guys maybe 10 seconds or so to get in your remaining hashtag the yards.
We also always forget to mention this, but we do just sell merch if you don't win here and you really want one of the merchandise we're giving away, and it's just store.streamyard.com, but it's also pretty cool to win it on the giveaway.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are eager, and we did try to make it relatively how expensive is everyone's opinion, but we're not trying to make a profit on it. Like, we tried to make it as basically what it costs us for the most part.
Yep.
All right. Has it stabilized, Dan?
I think it's stable enough. Yep.
All right. Let's do it.
Good luck, everyone.
The Wanderer. That's funny. That's you're in the comments a lot. Congrats. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight. If you could send an email to contact@streamyard.com, the team can work with you to get you your brand new StreamYard sweater and your StreamYard duck.
Awesome. Congrats.
Cool. We have time for maybe a couple more questions. There were, before we close out, I did want to mention some of the other recent stuff that was added in case you missed it. Also related to OnAir was the private registration, which we're pretty excited about. So basically what this does is, if, for example, you want to have like a paid webinar or a limited access webinar, you can upload a CSV of a list of folks who have access to watch it. And in order to access it, they actually get a code. So it won't be shareable, basically, right? Like the person will actually have to be on that list and have access to that email to be able to view the webinar. One cool thing too is it still works with like embedding as well. So if you wanted to embed it on your website behind some sort of like access page, which it wouldn't actually even be necessary. It could be a public page because it still will verify that person actually is on that CSV list.
Yep.
And another small one we forgot to mention last time, quality of life improvement, is the ability to delete YouTube comments. So previously, I think we just had the ability to time them out or ban the person entirely. But now you can actually just delete the comment directly from the StreamYard studio. All right, let's see if there were any final ones here. Pride says, will the giveaway tool be integrated into the StreamYard studio? Yeah, it's definitely something we're open to, and we've talked about a lot. It's just there's been other things that we've prioritized, but there are other things that we're thinking about in terms of like how to make stuff like that easier in general to do from the studio, and that it might be addressed alongside some of the other things that we're hoping to make easier in that regard. All right. With that, this was episode 267 of the StreamYard Live Town Hall. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. It's always a pleasure getting the chance to be here with you and get your feedback on the product. We'll see you next week at the same time, Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific.
Thanks for hanging out with us, everyone. See you next week.